Campus View Village Apartment Lease is the legally binding document which leases you space for the identified length of time. This video will go over most of this document, but will not address every item point by point. You will get the formal lease to sign upon your arrival to Campus View Village, but this draft lease provided is for you to fully review prior to your arrival. It is your responsibility to read and understand the lease before signing. Once signed, this is one of the documents you will be held accountable to while at Campus View Village Apartments. For some, you will be allowed to complete this lease at check-in, but for many fall quarter arrivers, you will be required to attend a community orientation where the lease process will be completed as a group. Please also note, if you are a minor under the age of 18 at the time of signing, you must utilize a minor lease. This is the exact same lease, but the last page requires a legal guardian to sign as well as you, the student. When you receive your lease at check-in, you will be asked to fill in the date and your name at the top of this document. You will also be asked to initial at the bottom of every page, indicating that you have read, understood, and agreed to the items on that page. Now that we've clarified these items, let's review some of the key points in the lease. Point 1 states that you are leasing a property at Campus View Village Apartments. You will be assigned an apartment by CVV staff, and effort will be made to accommodate specific requests and information provided in your application. Tenants are always changing, so initial assignments are not considered finalized until you arrive. Therefore, it is not possible for Campus View Village to give prior notice of who roommates will be or what specific apartment you will be assigned to. Campus View Village does try to assign varsity athletes together, though not always with teammates from the same sport. Additionally, room assignments may be changed mid-lease or mid-year as deemed necessary. This is often to alleviate major roommate conflicts, to consolidate units, or to accommodate the need for large-scale maintenance. When possible, this is done during academic break periods, such as winter break or spring break. Additionally, units are furnished with the items noted here. All furniture is movable, but not removable. This means you can rearrange the furniture, but may not remove the furniture from the rooms they are located in or from the apartment itself. Terms of payment and charges states that the lease is for a term of 1 academic quarter. Your form should have the start and end date listed already, but if not, ask staff for the correct dates. Rent at Campus View Village is the entirety of the leased quarter. You can see what your amount owed for your quarter is by looking at this section of your lease. If you have the need to move in early, you must contact the Director of Residence Life and request authorization. Early move-ins will only be approved if Campus View Village is able to accommodate and should never be assumed. These early move-ins come at a prorated daily charge, and a total amount will be provided to you upon your arrival. This prorated early move-in amount should be paid prior to your arrival. Payment methods will be discussed with you if your early move-in request is approved. All rent is payable on or before the due date. Residents able to pay the full quarter's rent by that first due date will receive a $50 discount towards that quarter's rent. First rent due dates are always the first Friday after classes have started for that quarter. Some students are not able to pay in full by that first due date, so Campus View Village has payment plans available. These plan due dates are listed on the CVV website, in your Residence Life Handbook, and on a separate sheet in your new resident red folder. Residents who move out early may still be liable for the entire amount of rent outlined on the lease for that period of the lease. Residents who will be returning for the next quarter will be allowed to keep their belongings in their unit at no additional charge, regardless of if they will be staying during the break period or not. However, students who are leaving at the end of the lease period must fully move out by the indicated due dates. Leaving residents who need to stay a few additional days must request this accommodation with the director. Late stays will only be approved if Campus View Village is able to accommodate and should never be assumed. These late stays come at a $25 a day charge for each additional night past the standard lease, and a total amount will be provided to you upon your approval. This late stay balance should be paid prior to your departure. Payment methods will be discussed with you if your late stay request is approved. Now, we will hit the key points of the rest of this lease. Remember, you are responsible for reading the entirety of this document thoroughly before signing it. The first page will always show the lease start and end dates. If the lease is broken by the tenant or terminated by Campus View Village, there is a financial penalty. All utilities, gas, heat, water, garbage, electricity, and Wi-Fi are covered by your rent. Departing tenants are financially responsible for the repairs and replacements of furnishings. Neither the tenant nor the Campus View Village staff is obligated to continue the lease beyond the current terms. And this lease is for you. No additional people may reside in your bedroom. The common areas in your apartment are the responsibility of all the residents in that apartment. Damage costs may be split amongst all roommates if no responsible party is identified. Residents are held responsible to both the Campus View Village Policy Handbook and the Skagit Valley College Code of Student Conduct. To remain eligible for Campus View Village housing, you must maintain the minimum credit load, remain in good academic standing with Skagit Valley College, and abide by the SVC and Campus View Village policies. CVV holds your $225 security deposit until you leave. Any remainder after your balance is cleared will be refunded. Illegal drug possession and use is not permitted. Campus View Village does quarterly health and safety checks of all facilities, including bedrooms, to assure furnishings are all present and functioning. You will be provided with notice prior to these checks. Leases may not be subletted to others. The lease is for you exclusively. Campus View Village will address all maintenance needs. It is your responsibility, however, to report issues to Campus View Village staff. Residents are responsible for keeping the full apartment clean and hygienic. All residents are responsible for the common areas. Leases may be terminated for the following reasons: resident leaves without notice during an active lease, rent is not paid, policy is not followed, or student status with Skagit Valley College is not maintained. Campus View Village staff may remedy issues with tenants by terminating the lease, enforcing the lease and policies, assignment of appropriate sanctions for violations, or removal of contraband items. The final page states that the lease is fully enforceable at all times. Campus View Village staff may enter units for any reason within duties of their job. This includes announced inspections, maintenance repairs, addressing policy violations, addressing community disruptions, and addressing suspected or known emergencies. Campus View Village is not liable for damages, theft, or injury, and this lease is the entirety of all documents signed as required to reside at Campus View Village Apartments. At this point, you are then asked to sign on the resident signature line and date with the date of signature.